Hello, welcome to our Cultural Nomads project. In the course of her illustrious career as a dancer, the Italian ballerina Eleonora Abbagnato brought together French and Italian traditions. Lately, without putting her ballet shoes in the closet, Abbagnato took yet another role as the artistic director of the Ballet of Opera di Roma. We had the privilege of talking to Eleonora about breaking the stereotypes of a porcelain ballerina and becoming the manager of the leading European ballet company. Eleonora, many thanks for giving us an opportunity to talk to you today, right before the performance. When and how did a decisive turn in your career happen? How did you, an internationally acclaimed étoile of the Paris Opera Ballet, become director of the Corps de Ballet of Teatro dell'Opera di Roma?
In fact, I was offered the chance. I was called to Rome, though my native town is Palermo. It's true I wanted to return to my country, but with some purpose or project. Luckily, I was called to lead this important dance company in Rome, the capital of Italy. I had often performed with the company in Opera di Roma as a guest artist, so I was familiar with the theater and I also knew some of the dancers. My objective was to rebuild this company. Today we are a company of 60 dancers with an extensive repertoire. I've been juggling leading the company and continuing to dance since 2015. The difficulty for me was to stop too early. I wanted to continue to dance. I tried to keep my foot in the most important roles that I danced at the Paris Opera Ballet. Benjamin Millepied was director of the company at the time, and he was incredibly generous from the moment I posed the question of whether I could direct the company in Rome while at the same time keeping my position of étoile in the Paris Opera. It was very tiring in the beginning. I was traveling back and forth to Rome every weekend. I had strong maîtres de ballet who gave me a lot of support. Nowadays, we can do a lot of work remotely. Most importantly was that with every return to Rome, I began to follow my dancers closely and get to know them better. I introduced to them the international repertoire that I was fortunate to be familiar with and that I had a chance to learn at the Opera of Paris. The first great choreographers that I brought to Rome were those whom I knew well: Forsyth, Killian, Preljocage, then Roland Petit, obviously, who was like my ballet father. It's a very broad repertoire. I also brought the classical favorites like Manon. I brought Misha Baryshnikov in to work with my dancers. All these efforts were to help them grow and make them experiment with different choreographic language.
Eleonora, you bring a strong inspiration to many dancers, and particularly for female dancers across the globe. Although we have a few women who lead top ballet companies today, it is still quite a challenge to work with such a big company in Italy and to form your audience. How did you do that?
Well, what I wanted to do was broaden with our repertoire the Italian public's taste. The Italian ballet audience is not the same as at the Paris Opera. For example, when I put on an evening of Jerome Robbins, I was really quite worried about the audience's reaction. This is a very particular language, very poetic and subtle, and the audience was not accustomed to that. It's the same with Forsyth. His dances are dazzling, they're so technical. Today we are a real solid company because the repertoire is essential for dancers to motivate them and to make them find a way or a manner of dancing different choreographies. It is true that the Italian dancers are famous for being very natural and expressive on stage. And it goes so well with the choreography of Roland Petit. We brought Roland Petit's La Chauve-Souris to Paris, to the Champs-Élysées Theatre as a guest company a few years ago, and this year we returned to Paris, to the Palace of Congress, with the ballet Four Seasons, choreographed by the Italian choreographer Giuliano Peparini.
Your artistic path combines the two great dance traditions, the Italian and the French. How do you feel about being both an Italian and a French ballerina?
Dance was born between Italy and France. It's true that these two countries are very important in the history of ballet. I think that the great choreographers with whom I had the chance to work at the Paris Opera have always loved to work in Italy. They love Italian dancers, their approach to dance, their expression and energy. Ballet adapts to every country, to every company, to the local tradition of expression as human language does. Here in Italy, it's always sunnier and warmer. But this exchange and adaptations make everyone grow further and evolve. And I think it has helped my dancers develop into a company of high level and very good quality.
What is the secret of your success as a great ballerina, a responsible company director, and a loving mother and wife? This is a huge role that you carry daily.
I have a big family of 4 children and a dog, and my wonderful husband who helps me a lot. My husband works a lot as well. He keeps his professional life like me, but I try to find what is called perfect planning. It's all about one's organizational skills. Organization has been my strong point since I was a child. Normally, I know perfectly what comes next every month, but with the pandemic, everything became more complicated. Planning the season, traveling, staging, working in studio. But nonetheless, I succeeded in completing my career as a dancer at the Paris Opera. I made my farewells to the public in June 2021 in a program of Roland Petit ballets. It was a way of expressing my homage to him. He helped me so much in my career as a dancer. At the same time, I tried to stay with my dancers in the company because it's important to follow them emotionally and physically and to spark their desire to dance and not to let them down.
How did the experience of the pandemic change or expand your work with the company?
I stayed in Italy with my children and family, but at the same time, I worked a lot with the Opera of Rome. During the pandemic, we, like other companies, we streamed our ballets. Also, we made new ballets. While theaters were closed, we explored new sites for dancing, such as museums, palaces. You know, Rome really supports the arts. It has such a wealth of places for dance projects. There are great museums who are willing to share their facilities and see their spaces in harmony with music and dance and decor. I brought some great stylists to Rome, such as Maria Grazia Chiuri from Dior. We made a film with her in the Palazzo Farnese. This film will be released soon. So I tried to find solutions to the situation, to the pandemic. Now theaters are filled with audiences, as we saw at the Gala des Étoiles last night. It was an enthusiastic public, and I hope it continues this way always.
Many thanks, enormous thanks.